Hey, good morning guys. My name is Aaron and this is Eric. Today we're here to bring you the second progression of our, how do you want to go with this thing? Because you detailed a very thorough 10 video series called the Wingboard School.
Yeah.
So how do you envision this next progression?
This is going to be how to progress from your skills on a wing paddleboard to wing foiling.
Got it. Perfect.
So when you're looking at what size wing you're going to use, the ratings you're getting by the manufacturer are for experienced wing foilers who know how to pump the wing in the foil in lighter winds to start flying, and how to spill the excess power overhead when overpowered in neutral without crashing.
Got it. Got it.
As soon as the foil engages and the board lifts off the water, it releases 98% of the drag. You accelerate very quickly. The acceleration creates more wind. That wind goes into your wing, and you will be quickly overpowered if you use a wing that's big enough to start flying without flapping it.
Right.
Once you're up and riding, you're going to be drastically overpowered. You're probably going to have some hard crashes. So you really want to get your skills with pumping the foil behind a motorboat, ideally first.
Yep.
You know, I like to say that a free ride has a hidden prize. You know, take the time to master the fundamental building blocks before trying to fly.
Yes.
And in the long run, you're going to progress much faster because every part of the intermediate and advanced skills require very precise pumping of the wing and pumping of the foil. And also, most people don't realize you can pump against your mast.
On the mast, yep.
But we'll get to that
later. That's a whole different conversation, yep.
So our pre-flight checklist for our skills. And remember, you want these skills mastered and instinctive before you try to fly on a foil.
Sure.
If you have to think about any of these while you're doing them, there's no way you're going to be able to combine them efficiently.
Right, not quite ready. Yep.
Number one, you need to be able to wing with a paddleboard up on a plane in at least 15 knots of wind with good posture, riding both goofy and regular.
Yep.
You have to be able to make transitions upwind and downwind. You have to be able to pump the wing to increase power on a paddleboard, both goofy and regular.
Yeah.
You have to be able to pump the paddleboard, even though there's no
just going
foil.
through the motion, You're
going through it, so you're trying to ollie it a little bit, simulating the pumpy, both goofy and regular. You need to spend quality time on an e-foil or your wing foil board being towed by a boat, both goofy and regular. And numbers 1 through 4 on your wing foil board, do those with surf fins in the foil trap.
Yes,
Because this allows
such a great idea.
You were able to get used to how to rise up from kneeling, how to pump on a smaller board without accidentally flying up on foil and getting bucked off the back.
And now when we say that you need to be able to do this, I mean, obviously need is a challenging word, but it's so beneficial, right?
It's advantageous.
I feel like, and I've gone through this progression as you've prescribed, and it's really cool because I'm coming from a couple of decades of experience with kiteboarding, kite foiling, kite surfing, so getting into wingboarding and then into wing foiling. And when we say wingboarding, we're referring to utilizing the hand wing with a stand-up paddleboard, as we did in the first video progression, and now we're going to transition into wing foiling with a hydrofoil. But it was very beneficial to have the kite foiling experience. You've got the wind knowledge and you're aware of how to ride a hydrofoil. So in these steps outlined here, like when you talk about the benefit of being able to ride behind a boat is immense, because you have a controlled speed. Like I'm saying, if you are coming from a non-wind sports background especially, you've got a controlled speed. Typically you're going to be able to pick flat water and really dial in and isolate the ability to ride the hydrofoil, and then isolate the skills to use the hand wing and the inflatable wing to fly it on the beach and get used to how it works. Put the two together, and then if you have access to an e-foil, oh man, because now you're using a board that is of a similar size to what your wing board would be, and probably a similar size hydrofoil, but now you're powered, and so you have the ability to control the speed and the duration of that ride. So when we say need, it really is ideal, and I know you can make do And you can make it more challenging on yourself, absolutely, by saying, oh, I don't need to do that. I'm just going to put this thing together and go jump in the water. Well, you can absolutely do that, but you're stacking the deck against yourself, and it's going to be a challenge. And when you get humbled, which you most likely will, you're going to, all right, you come back to square one and hit reset and progress here as Erik is prescribing as we move into the wing foil section.
Trial and error equals pain.
Oh, man. Yeah, and exhaustion.
Yeah, exhaustion.
And an ego check.
Yeah. So, possibly the most important part of foiling, learning to foil, is if you feel unstable, don't try to rodeo and gyrate trying to keep your balance to stay on the board to the last second.
Get away, huh?
Yeah. Off the back, right away, come back. It's like, live to fight another day.
Yeah.
All these guys, you see them, they're like bent over, they're fighting the wind, they're doing all this, and they're all over the place. If you get thrown off to the side, or even worse, off the front, you're looking at making contact with your Ginsu knife.
Yes. And we do acknowledge that, we are basically strapping a medieval weapon to the bottom of our board. It's just the truth. And thankfully, we always talk about making I think incremental progress to get to that point where you are riding the hydrofoil. You've built your skills up to a point where you can effectively start to utilize that and practice that in a controlled environment, as in with an e-foil or behind the boat, so that you are becoming gradually aware of how that hydrofoil can react to your movements, as opposed to just putting it all together and running out there and having at it. Because it can pitch out once. I always fear the high side. If I'm buckling going over backward, I'm like, oh no, because I know what's
it's behind you.
I know what's behind me, and I don't want that. So like what Erik is saying is, if you feel any bit of instability, as soon as you start to feel like, whoop, this is getting squirrely underneath me, jump away, pitch, jump away from the rig, to the side, to the rear, and get away from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we should preface, we're always utilizing a helmet and vest with every lesson progression, and as intermediate and advanced level riders, we just feel again that the
risk doesn't go away when you start trying bigger tricks.
It doesn't.
My helmet and vest has saved my life many times.
And I think we have to sort through some of what we see professionals doing, right? You have sponsored pro athletes out there ripping in big conditions and doing things that our average Joe selves are not necessarily going to be getting into. Not saying that you can't, but I think it's a little bit of a misrepresentation when you see these professional athletes. Not bagging on that, but I'm just saying, hey, common sense says, hey, I like my head. It's irreplaceable. I'm gonna put a bucket on it. Yeah. And I like to breathe. I like to float. So I'm gonna wear a vest, and I don't have a problem with that. And if that's an ego check, then that's an ego check, because I kind of want to continue on and see the next day. So little rant over, but we always
a good rant.
We want to make sure that you're aware of that and utilize a helmet and vest.
I like to tell my students that if I send them to the hospital, they probably aren't going to tip me.
They're not.
And I like tips. So your first rides on your wing foil board, remember, if you spent the quality time isolating your variables, just like algebra, it actually works, the math works.
Big time.
Then you're going to go through this progression. It's written down. It's much easier to read, but I'm going to read it for you, just in case you don't like to read. So the first thing you want to do on your foil board is taxi, which means you're riding without flying. Upwind, downwind, crosswind, transitions, and we're going to cover how to find the proper mast position.
Yeah.
Start with it all the way back.
All the way back, yep.
It means that if you are going to foil, you're going to need all your pressure on your back foot, and anytime you go a little forward, you're coming back down.
Yep.
The flip side is if you put it a little too far forward, as soon as you have enough power, you're going to wheelie up over the back, and you're going to do that again and again. Then you have to make it back to shore and adjust it back.
Yeah.
Start all the way back and incrementally move it 1 inch forward after every tack, and you will find your sweet spot. Perfect. We're going to get to that later, though. Pumping to fly. As soon as your board lifts off the water, gently pressure your front foot to bring you back down. When you lift off, you release 98% of the drag and you're accelerating, and as soon as you touch down, it's like the water is kissing it.
Yep,
There's
totally.
a suction,
Yep.
and that's going to make you try to go forward.
Yeah.
And what happens is, if you're not ready and you have power in your wing, you're going to cartwheel off the front.
Yep.
So we don't want to cartwheel off the front. So we want to practice. It's called touch and go.
Yes.
You want to do a lot of touch and goes, only coming a couple inches and then back down, couple inches, back down. When you're good at that, goofy and regular, then bring it up a couple inches, keep it.
Yeah.
But only stay a couple of inches. You're getting used to flying straight and level, but not 90 centimeters up.
Right.
Because if you're 90 centimeters up, you have a lot of instability. You can go left, right, or you can stuff the nose. And if you stuff the nose at speed,
from that height,
the board can do a scorpion.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be in front of a scorpion.
We do not want that.
Don't want that. So, let's see, where are we here? Okay. Now what you're going to try to do is, as you're riding, you're going to try to gently pressure the front foot or back foot so that you're staying level at about halfway up the mast height.
Right.
And as you go up a little bit of a wave or swell, you're going to try to stay even so you're a little bit on the back foot. And as you go over the top, you're going to push on your front foot. So you're just going over and down.
Trying to almost absorb that.
You're trying to absorb. This is preparation for pumping.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get good at that, as you're going down the hill, you do a little pump between the down and the up.
Yeah.
Kind of like a skateboarder.
Yeah, big time pump track.
And you get a little bit more. We're not trying to pump really hard. We're just trying to get a rhythm.
Yeah.
Then you can add with that pump, as you're pushing with your feet that way, you're pulling a little bit with the wing. Furiously pumping aggressively like this right away is like dumping the clutch at 7,000 RPMs. You're going to spin the wheels, you're going to make a lot of smoke, but the guy who eases out the clutch gently and then accelerates, he's going to be way up there long before you even get off the starting line. So start gently and then increase it as you feel the load, and then add in the pumping with it.
Got it.
So we want to work on that, but this exercise of just trying to keep your height as you go up and down through the water is going to prepare you for the control when you actually start putting some power into it. Now, what you're going to want to do is, after you feel that you're getting power from pumping the board, I want you to just grab the nose of the wing, flag it out, and try to keep pumping. Keep your speed going, and then pull it back and go to it. Because pumping is required at some point in almost all transitions, because you rarely have enough speed to glide through a full 180 upwind or downwind. And then the other thing is that when you switch your feet, you are in the middle of a pump. We're going to get that to later when we talk about transitions. Now, if you can't consistently fly in a straight line under control, it's impossible to safely carve a downwind or upwind transition. Don't even try it. You're just going to go further and further downwind and then crash. And you crawl back on the board, you get in the position, and by the time you're getting back on a foil, you might have lost 100 yards going downwind.
And that happens easy. It does.
You do that 10 times and you're a kilometer downwind already, and now you got the walk of shame.
Big time.
So when you're going out practicing your straight lines, don't turn downwind. Turn upwind, allow yourself to drop down off foil, complete your turn in taxi mode, and then pump onto foil going back, and that's how you hold your line and you come back to where you started from.
Perfect.
So that is our introduction to wing foiling. We're going to get into now how to do your transitions and riding swells.